Okay, so I took off this spring wheel. It's got a little clip on that side, and then it went through the bracket, and then the washer went on, and then the nut went on. Look at that. So this washer faces the inside of the boat on this bracket. And there's a little bit of an adjustment up and down so that your spring isn't rubbing, I guess, on this rail in the back here. So we'll have to make sure we adjust that properly. The wheel looks a little buggered up, but I think it's doing its job. You might want to clean it up and lubricate it. So we'll put that in the pile. All right, so I think the minute it'll be close. If I take the bracket off, which is, this spring is, a little bit of dirt in there, some junk in there. Have to make sure we clean that real good. I want to get this bracket off, and then I think that this will clear this arm. I don't want to mess with that arm. I don't know if that stop is internal or if it's this arm is positioned over top of that a certain way. It may only go on one way, but I don't know. And if I don't have to mess with it, I'm not gonna. So I'm not gonna. So we're gonna take off now the valve cover, and then we will. That looks like 3/8. Okay, it's not 3/8. Well, it's 3/8, but it's 12 points maybe. Zip this off. All right, lift the valve cover off, and then I'd like to flip this over. I think. Center pile. 1, 2. I think this is the, and then the short one is on the end there. Whoops. I'm going to flip this over. It's not make a mess. And I guess we're going to take that outside in a minute. I'd like to just get this arm off of here. So that's our governor. And governor's moving back and forth. Kind of cool. And I'm going to pull this arm off of here. Now, it's happened before, but didn't happen before, but there's a hole in this back corner. And the last thing you want to do is drop that cotter pin in that hole. I don't know if you can see it or not, but it's right on the back side of that nut. And so we're going to stick a rag in that corner. So if I drop the cotter pin, it won't be all over. We'll pull this little clip off, and then that arm should come off. And it looks like we got 2 bolts here, and that should free this this governor off of there. Let's see what we can do there. All right, rag in the back there, just in case. Cotter pin off. Put that the pile. I'm going to pull the pin out. I'm going to put this cotter pin and this pin together. And that frees that up. And then I'm going to grab a hold of this little pin here. Got that, and put that in the pile. This arm, I'm assuming this will lift up. There's a little washer. Goes on the top of that. Put that on the pile. And then, can I lift this up? It looks like I can. I'm going to pull this governor rod out. See what that looks like. The bent short end is obviously the end that goes closest to that. Put that in the pile. All right, so I guess if I unbolt this, and I take this rack off, I think the head will clear that. Again, I really don't want to mess with what's in here. So I'm going to take this clean paper towel, and it's neat. It's kind of interesting. I think that's the, it's either the idle screw or the buffer screw, I forget. I think that's the idle screw. Yeah. I'm not guessing. Debating if I should put that little clip back on there. I don't know. I'm going to put the cover back on. Maybe I should put the clip back on. You know what? It probably has less of a chance of getting lost. So we're going to put the washer back on, which goes on top of the rod. And I'm going to put the little clip back on. And now I'm not going to worry about losing that. And I think I can put this thing back on. Keep the dirt out of there. I think that's a good idea. And I'm going to put the bolts back in. Remember, this bolt went in front, had the little doohickey for the spring, which I didn't see a spring on it, unless I'm missing something. Okay. And then there's another long bolt back here. Easy. And the two short bolts right here and here. Remember the bracket went on top of that, and I have the connecting rod. I'm going to put the little pin that pins this. I'm going to put that on this connecting rod. That'll be one less thing I have to try to hunt through this pile of parts to find. Ouch! Pile. Alright, so looks like 2 bolts here, 7/16. Then I'm going to break for some lunch. 7/16. Yes. I don't know if that's going to be enough to get that to disconnect from there. I don't know if I'm gonna. This head is gonna clear that because it looks like the fuel rail protrudes. So we may have to get some information on that before we go any farther. I don't want to pull that apart. I'm pretty confident we can get this back together, but I don't know what's under there, and that's really uncharted territory. So I'm gonna wait a little bit and chat with a friend of mine who's a little more familiar with this. And it doesn't look overly complicated, but I don't know. Maybe there's a gear in there and you got to pull it out a certain way, and whatever you do, don't touch that. One of those deals. So I'm pretty confident so far. We're doing okay. Still got the rack to pull apart. Really shouldn't have any issues getting this back together. Okay, well, I'm not going to mess with that. And we'll have to do some research on this thing here before I go any farther with that. All right, well, I know. Well, I might as well leave this on then, because the bottom of the other side of this, it's not flat down. The fuel rails are right there, and they're just going to hit that. So I guess we have, I'm going to pull the rack off of here, and then had that off before. When I put the injectors in, I had to loosen it to move it out of the way. So that air line that came off of, I assume it was an air line, oil line that came off of the turbo, comes into this back section of the head, wraps around and goes to the fuel delay. Maybe keeps that pressurized. That's my thought. Still wondering why there'd be oil there, but we'll put that in the discussion question. All right, so I think it's time to go eat some lunch, and then I'm going to pull the rack. I guess I'm going to pull the injectors out and pull the rack off, and see what happens. What could happen? I think how that rack looks like 5/16 or something holds that on. Cool. Looks good. The rack's a little out. There. Play with that later. All right, time to go get some grub.